Hello there, and welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. That's Luis Scott Vargas. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, and it is our pleasure to bring you coverage of the finals. It has been a long and bumpy road through the top 8 here, but we've got our 2 competitors left over. We've got Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa. He's from Brazil. From the United States, Sam Pardee. The players are ready. The table is set. Let's head down. It's time for the finals here from Kyoto. Hello and welcome to coverage of Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas, and it's all time for the finals. Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa from Brazil. He plays for Team Channel Fireball Ice. He's got 12 top 8s and a win, looking to pick up that coveted second Pro Tour win. He's playing Ramanop Red against his opponent, Sam Pardee from Team Face to Face Games in his second Pro Tour top 8. The best that he's been able to do thus far, 3rd place at the Pro Tour. Not too shabby. But really looking to try to extend that out to number 1 here for his team. He's playing Black-Green Constrictor.
Well, it's an exciting finals for the testing group. These 2 players did prepare together, and it's always good times when you can meet a teammate in the finals.
Yeah, they're not on the same Pro Tour team, but when it came to testing, Team Face-to-Face and Team Channel Fireball Ice grouped up and tested the formats together. So you can see they came to some different conclusions here. But both look pretty good, and they're off to the start here. This is Paulo, who is our number 1 seed coming in, is going to be on the play. And he's got a Falcon Wrath Gorger to kick things off, and another 1-drop. He hasn't played a second land yet, though. See if he has one of those.
He does. He has the coveted 1-drop into double 1-drop start, which is what these red decks are really looking for, especially in Game 1.
Well, that has to be another Falcon Wrath Gorger. That's the one without haste in his deck. He's going to pass the turn back. And boy, that is a quick start from Paulo. 5 power on the battlefield, and there's a lot of hope riding on this snake here for Sam Pardee, and it's gone. A Braid is going to send it packing, and 5 damage is going to hit Sam Pardee, knocking him down to 12. This one could be quick.
If Paulo draws a 3rd land here to play On-Crop Crasher, that's just about going to wrap things up.
That would get him in for 8, knocks him down to 4.
And it's a Ramanop Ruins.
Jeez. Has to be one of the best draws in the deck there for Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa, who's going to play On-Crop Crasher. Get in there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage, knock you down to 4. And you can see that Paulo is on the precipice of picking up this Game 1. Does Sam have the type of tools to get out from underneath this kind of pressure at this point?
Well, Sam doesn't have one in hand, but if he can play a Walking Ballista next turn, then that's one way to get out of this, because that does a very good job at picking off 2-1s like those Falcon Wrath Gorgers, or 1-1s like the Bomat Courier.
Now, that would buy him some time, but Paulo, every land drop from here on out is getting him closer and closer to start activating that Ramanop Ruins.
And Paulo has Chandra, Torch of Defiance, the last card he played in his semifinal match just now. So if he can draw another land, he can play Chandra, and that will really put the nail in the coffin for Sam Pardee. But until then, Sam does get to add to the board. He does get to play something like Liliana the Last Hope and kill one of Paulo's creatures, or play a Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, and put a plant token into play.
Well, he's going to cycle Dissenter's Deliverance, but he still has this Liliana either way. So he's going to have to take out one of the creatures that can actually attack next turn, and he's going to have to take out one of the ones that has the most power. Even now, he's barely hanging on.
Sunscorched Desert is exactly the card Paulo needed to finally finish things off.
So Sam is compelled to block the Gorger. That means he's going to go down to 3. Sunscorched Desert says you go to 1, and there's Chandra plus it, 2-0. And Sam Pardee is dead. That is Game 1 going to Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa, and a huge smile on his face. And I guess I'd be smiling too. That was a quick Game 1 victory for Paulo.
That was the clean turn 5 kill.
Woo.
In the face of, Sam Pardee playing spells on turns 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, he beat 2 Wani Constrictors and a Planeswalker. A very quick start. Don't go anywhere. This thing could be over quickly. You're not going to want to miss any of it. We're going to be back with more live magic after these messages.
Unleash your endgame next weekend. Bring your best standard deck to become the Hour of Devastation Game Day champion of your game store. Top finishers are awarded full art premium promo cards and an exclusive Game Day champion playmat for the winner. Find a game day near you at magic.wizards.com/gameday.
The Magic the Gathering World Championship features 24 players, 2 teams, and 3 days of the best Magic this year as they compete for over $350,000, with the winner getting a cool $100,000 and the title of World Champion. Tune in October 6th through 8th to twitch.tv/magic to see it all unfold.
Welcome back to the feature match area here in Kyoto, Japan. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas, and we're getting set for Game 2 of our semifinal. Luis, I wanted to take just a moment and say thanks for the last year of coverage. I had a really good time in the booth with you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was fun. I am looking forward to seeing you back under the hot lights, though, duking it out. I'm not going to lie.
Well, all I can say is as soon as I take off this headset, walk out of the booth, I'll never return.
Hold on a minute. I'm writing this down.
No, I actually...
I'm sure we'll see you.
I sincerely hope so, since I do enjoy coverage quite a bit and would like to continue doing so. But I am itching to get back to playing again. Can't let, Paulo outpace me too much. He's going to lap me soon enough. I can't have that.
No, you just need to have a season like you had last time, and you'll be fine. Looks like we're already underway here in the second game. That is a Bomat Courier hitting the red zone for Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa, who's on the draw this time, and bang, Whining Constrictor already asking a very pertinent question of Paulo. Do you have an answer, and do you have it right now? Answer's no. That is Carrie Zev, Skyship Raider. She's not going to get that snake to run away.
Wow.
Okay, a nice curve out here for Sam Pardee. Look at that.
Liliana the Last Hope does a very good job against one toughness creatures, and Paulo, despite the fact that he can successfully ping Liliana with Carry Zev, Ragavan gets eaten by Winding Constrictor, and that leaves Liliana still at a substantial amount of loyalty. Looks like Paulo's got a lot of Hazarets in hand, and despite Hazaret being one of the most powerful cards in the deck, 3 copies not exactly where you want to be.
Village Messenger, and it looks like everything's going to attack Liliana, but this does give Sam Pardee the option to just gobble up the Village Messenger here. That does mean that Ragavan's going to get through, though, in addition to Karizev, and Liliana's going to fall to 1 loyalty, but Paulo had to just throw away a card to get 3 loyalty off of Liliana there.
Well, so there's 2 reasons Paulo wanted to do that. One is that he just wants to get Village Messenger out of his hand. He's got Hazaret, the Fervent, X3. He wants to get his hand size low. Second is that Liliana blanks Village Messenger anyway, so might as well get a little bit of utility out of the Messenger.
An attack here from Sam Pardee means that, whoa, triple snakes here. Oh boy, if he finds any way to get any counters going, I think we're going to run out of dice in the feature match area. Does he have anything in his hand? Let's take a look. Oh no. He has Nissa Voice of Zendikar Luis.
And that bodes ill for Paulo. We might be seeing a game 3 here momentarily.
I don't think I can count this high, but let's find out.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. That doesn't mean that the number is very high, but I do agree with your statement.
I've only got 2 hands to work with.
So Nissa Voice of Zendikar's -2 will attempt to put 1/+1 counter on each Winding Constrictor, which the 3 Constrictors will make into 4 +1/+1 counters on Winding Constrictor. That's threatening a full 18 damage, and, well...
Is that a lot? That's exactly lethal. And that's Sam Pardee taking down game number 2. A nice round of applause for Sam as he really put some fireworks on the battlefield there. My goodness. Pardee family kind of celebrating out there, but a lot of work to be done before we're going to have a champion here, though. Once again, I'm just shocked at how quickly these games are going by, Luis. They happen so fast.
Yeah, I want to say that was a clean turn 5 kill for Sam as well, but there's nothing clean about that kill.
No, that was as dirty as they get. So these players are going to be transitioning over to their sideboards, but we're going to go ahead and talk about that in just a minute here. In the meantime, I did want to reflect a little bit here on the career accomplishments for both of these players. Paulo Vitor, he put himself into a class of his own with 12 Pro Tour top 8s. The only person that has more than him is John Finkel at this point. And, it's weird to say, but Paulo's, he's in striking range. It's 12-16. It's just one more Pro Tour Hall of Fame career, and he could catch him. I didn't really think I'd ever say that, that anybody could potentially catch John, at least not in my lifetime. But, Paulo's in range.
Given that John is still actively playing and making top 8s, I thought no one would ever come close to catching him. I just thought that was not going to be capable. But Paulo is really making a run for it. He, when you say he's only 4 Pro Tour top 8s away, well, like you mentioned, that is a Hall of Fame career.
That's insane.
That's more Pro Tour top 8s than most anyone platinum level ever makes in their career. That's enough to get you into the Magic the Gathering Hall of Fame. And, well, Paulo can do that in about 2 seasons, it looks like.
He's insane. Let's take a look at the sideboards here. Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa's sideboard here for his Ramanop red deck. We noted when he was playing in his semifinal match that he seems to have really heavily skewed his sideboard towards the mirror match. How does that play out here since he's ended up playing against Black-Green Constrictor here in the finals?
Well, he's got a couple options. He does have Glorybringer. We've seen that card be effective against Sam Pardee's deck. Sand Strangler is actually kind of interesting because it does kill Winding Constrictor and provide a sizable body of its own. Oath of Chandra as well. The 3 damage effects are fairly strong against a deck with a bunch of mid-range creatures in them. And, depending on whether Paulo likes his 1-drop plan, he can certainly go a lot bigger. You don't see any lands in his sideboard. That's different from someone like Sam Black, but that's because Paulo played an appropriate amount of lands in his main deck to support his sideboard cards.
Let's take a look at the opposing sideboard. Sam Pardee Usually Black-Green has some pretty good options out of the board. What do you see here for Sam?
He's got Ishkana, Graph Widow. He's got Grasp of Darkness. He's got a couple copies of Never to Return as well. We saw him sideboard against Sam Black. And so he can make some tweaks to his deck, add a few more removal spells. But for the most part, Sam Pardee has his deck kind of set the way he wants it against Mono Red.
We talked about that Ishkana, Graph Widow in conjunction with Traverse. Ulvenwald is a potential way to kind of gum up the ground in the late part of the game. Looks like Paulo may have stepped away for a moment here, leaving Pardee with a little extra time.
Paulo's going to refill his luck reservoir. He's been running close to empty.
Wow.
It's actually astounding. Because, you know, when you look at a player like Paulo, like, I think it's hard to deny that he's been on the receiving end of some very good luck, but he's also just one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and that's just a brutal combination for his opponents. When someone who is as good as Paulo and as well prepared as Paulo, you know, catches some breaks, which he has done before and will do again, then, well, it is understandably hard to stop him, and that's how you end up with 12 Pro Tour top 8s.
You know, one thing of note for Paulo's career, you know, we were just talking about what a truly impressive, remarkable career Paulo's had. He's never won Player of the Year.
He is not.
And if he wins this match, he will be the Player of the Year for 2017. Marcio Carvalho had what looked like a very solid lead coming in, but there was a number of players that with a super strong finish could catch or even pass him, and Paulo was one of them. And this finish, as it sits, even if Sam Pardee were to win this match, would leave Paulo Vitor and Marcio tied for the Player of the Year, which is kind of exciting for us as viewers and commentators. But, you know, Paulo would much sooner just win this match and put himself the necessary points clear of the second place and just lock up that Player of the Year. And, you know, these are the type of things that really stand out among the pro crowd, becoming the world champion, getting the Player of the Year. These are, you know, a cumulative type reward, right? You know, any one tournament, anything could happen. But when you see somebody got Player of the Year, that means that they had an absolutely stunningly outstanding year with consistent high-level performance over the course of an entire season. And that's a really difficult thing to put together. I mean, like I said, Paulo, even with 12 top 8s, hasn't won one of those before.
It is a very difficult title to hoist, and you know, you look at the players who have won it over the course of the years; they're almost universally in the Hall of Fame as well, including this year's class. Josh Utter-Layton was a Player of the Year. Owen Turnwald, a 2-time Player of the Year. There's some of our recent winners, and there aren't very many boxes Paulo has not checked when it comes to Magic. So, I think that winning Player of the Year would actually mean a lot to him.
BDM and I are thinking about if we need a Hall of Fame for the Hall of Fame at this point. Paulo's building a pretty strong case to get into it if we do.
I don't think I'd be opposed to such a notion.
You'd be in the conversation, don't worry.
Well, I'm not saying that. I've had some pretty good mulligan luck. But I'm heavily implying it based on how I respond.
I kind of got the vibe. I said it for you, don't worry. Well, both of our players are smiling. I like to see that.
Oh, yeah, game 1 you didn't play a land. You just mulled it 4, never
Well,
spell.
Sam Pardee's smiling because he's a generally a happy guy and takes losses well. Paulo's smiling because Sam Pardee's mulliganing.
Intense play. Oh, you do choose to put more than 21 into your deck. Not anymore.
Yeah, these guys know each other very well. Again, these two teams, face-to-face games and Team Channel Fireball Ice, tested together. They combined forces for this tournament. They didn't come up with the same conclusion as far as which deck to play ultimately, but this is a keep here for Sam Pardee. So let's get into it. We are into the sideboarded games, of course, and now we're going to play a best 2 out of 3 to see who's going to be our Pro Tour champion here in Kyoto.
I like this hand well enough from Sam. He's missing green mana. He's got early interaction in the form of Fatal Push, but without green mana, he can't cast his Winding Constrictor. And he also has Liliana the Last Hope, which can do a pretty fair job herself.
Yeah, he really would have liked to see a forest there, but another copy of Fatal Push means that there's no threats on the battlefield for Paulo Vitor. Uh-oh, what is this turn 4 play? It's Chandra, Torch of Defiance into an empty board. That's going to give Paulo a lot of firepower here. Another removal spell off the top for Pardee, who's missing land drops and falling woefully behind Paulo at this point. And we could have ourselves yet another super quick game.
Well, the good news for Sam is that Paulo has 3 removal spells in hand, but does not have any other threats. And if Sam draws an untapped land, he can cast Never to Return on Chandra immediately. And
he missed. He found another copy of Liliana.
And Paulo found a second copy of Chandra. So even if Sam does find a third land to cast Never to Return, Chandra number 2 is going to come down.
He missed. Are we going to see a Chandra ultimate here? No.
No, we're not.
Thank you for that. We may have, but Sam Pardee's not going to give him the option. And another quick game, this one going to Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa, who is now moved within 1 game of his second Pro Tour title, his first player of the year. And I'm sure he can sense it at this point. Sam Pardee up against the ropes now. He's got to win back-to-back games against the Hall of Famer if he's going to be our champion. It's certainly within his range to do so. He's got the tools to get the job done, but a mulligan and no third land there for Pardee means no bueno. He's not able to get the job done, and now he's got a very tough hill to climb.
Well, someone was asking why was Sam laughing when he was just getting mana screwed and getting annihilated. But I can give you this perspective. I know Sam very well. I played a lot of matches like this, and I remember when I played against Owen Turtenwald in the top 4 of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, and ended up Game 5, I actually got mana screwed to lose after keeping a 2-land hand. And Owen and I are joking around in the same manner that Sam is here, where we know the skill and dedication it takes to get to this point. We also know that sometimes you get mana screwed. And yeah, you don't want to get mana screwed, but it does happen, and you kind of roll with it. If that phases you too much, then you likely don't get here to begin with, because you get knocked out of contention much earlier in the process.
You know what, Luis? I'm going to bring this up now.
Yeah.
I was having a chat with Owen the other day, and I remember covering that match at Eldritch Moon. And you guys were talking before the match, too, and you kept talking to him, and he would kind of, like, give you, like, just a little head shake. And I said, what did Luis say to you? You know what he told me you said? You said, well, I hope one of us gets horribly mana screwed before every game. Did you really do that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess you got your wish.
That was before one of the games where I gave him a signed token.
Yes, just what he's always wanted. All right. He does look up to you as a player.
Well, the thing is, I think both Owen and I and Sam, we can all appreciate the absurdity of these situations. Yeah. I'm not saying Paulo can't, but Paulo's perspective is a little bit different. He does take these losses harder, and that's part of what makes him a champion. He probably just wants it more, which is why he has 12 top 8s, and the 3 of us combined have 12 top 8s or something along those lines.
Well, it looks like Pardee's back to business time here. It is interesting to sit there and reflect a little bit about the weight of the situation for our players and for them to do so themselves. But when it comes down to it, when you're cutting decks and looking at hands here, it's all business. And man, they really, really, really want things to go well. They really care deeply about how these next couple of games are going to play out.
This is why you play professional Magic. It's to win a Pro Tour. Paulo's 1 game away. Sam is hopefully, for his sake, 2 games away.
That's right.
And they get to have the privilege of playing for this prize. And one of them's going to lose. Only one of these 2 players can win the Pro Tour. But it's still, you got a shot at it. And that's the part that you play for. That's the part that's awesome. That's why these players flew to Japan, from Brazil and the United States, respectively.
And when you look back at your career, you don't get that many. Right, you just don't get that many shots, no matter how good you are. Even with 12 top 8s for Paulo, he only has 1 win. It's just so hard to win this tournament, this level of tournament. And here we go. Whining Constrictor for Pardee is going to put a little brick wall up in front of that Gorger.
Paulo has a couple interesting options here. He can play Earthshaker Kenra and get in 4 points of guaranteed damage. He can also play Carry Zev and go for the higher reward play of next turn using Earthshaker Kenra to get in for the full 7 damage if Sam doesn't add more to the board.
That's what he's going to do, passes the turn back to Pardee. But Pardee gets to untap with all the colors of his mana here, and Maybe some removal spells. Let's take a look at his hand and see what he's working with.
Oh, he's got some good options. This is going to be a game.
Ooh, look at this.
Sam has a walking ballista, which will give him both a blocker plus a 1-point shot of damage, can take out something like Falcon Wrathgorger. He's also got Grasp of Darkness, which he can play this turn. By playing Traverse the Old, he's given up the ability to play Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, but I think that the highest reward line of play here, play Walking Ballista, hope it survives a turn alongside the Winding Constrictor, Nissa, -2, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Walking Ballista, annihilate Paulo's board.
Both players opting for the slightly slower but higher upside lines here.
And it looks like Sam is going to play conservatively, leave up Grasp of Darkness, which is almost assuredly going to take out Kari Zev here.
So Constrictor's not going to be able to block. Ooh, and there's even more here. But yeah, there's Kari Zev getting Grasp, but that means that thanks to that Bomat Courier, it's going to be 5 damage hitting Sam Pardee.
And that makes that makes this game very even here. Because Sam is going to get to play a 3/3 Walking Ballista if he wants to right now.
And he's going to go for it.
And all of a sudden, Walking Ballista does what it does. Paulo has 3/1 toughness creatures in play.
That's insane. And now Sam gets to just stare at him and say, go. Oh boy, Verdurous Gearhulk in hand for Sam Pardee as well. Ramanop Ruins off the top of the deck for Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa. Paulo can close out the Pro Tour with a win in this game, but it feels like it's starting to slip away from him. Paulo plays a land and passes the turn.
And Glorybringer's powerful, but it's still not going to necessarily be enough here.
Yeah, sorry, he went to combat there. And Sam says, well, with a trigger on the stack, okay, well, I'll let it happen. And Sam's just going to take advantage of the good blocks that he's got.
So Paulo's got some options here. He can let combat resolve, and then post-combat, he's going to want to shock one of Sam's creatures. He can take out Walking Ballista, losing his Earthshaker Kenner in the process, or he can take out the Winding Constrictor.
He's going to take out the Constrictor, leaving himself with just an Earthshaker Kenner with Sam Pardee down to 13 life.
And it may look like Paulo threw away a lot of creatures that turn, but those creatures were kind of already dead. They were living on borrowed time. There's a Walking Ballista with 3 counters in play, so Paulo's trying to get the best of what he can for them, which is to let him trade up a Bomat Courier and a Shock for a Winding Constrictor. Not a good place to be in, though.
Walking Ballista is now attacking. That's Paulo falling down to 17. There's that Nissa. Sam's just going to make himself a plant and pass the turn back against pretty benign board here, just an Earthshaker Kenra.
Though Sam not having 4 counters on that Walking Ballista means that Glorybringer is in position to take out Walking Ballista.
Oh boy. Sam can kill the Earthshaker Kenra if he'd like in response and throw a couple of counters at Paulo. But Glorybringer can just wreak havoc with this board.
So Paulo's looking, does he care about Nissa? Would he rather just get 4 points of damage in and then next turn be able to attack again? Does Sam have Numbered Return? Does Sam have Grasp of Darkness? These are the things that are going through Paulo's head right now. Paulo is actually fairly close here. Despite Sam having a good couple turns here, Paulo being able to put the Flying Threat of Glorybringer into play before Sam is able to cast Verdurous Gearhulk.
Okay, we know he's going to play Glorybringer. The question is, does he want to take out both the Ballista and Nissa, or does he not care? He's going to exert.
He's going to exert on the Ballista. I would find it very surprising if he did not.
So where does he attack?
Given that the Glorybringer can't attack next turn, it's safest to attack the Nissa. But Paulo might look at his Ramanop Ruins and just want to get 4 points of guaranteed damage in here.
He's going to take the clean 2-for-1, and boy, is that a powerful swing for Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa.
All right, if Sam can draw a land here, he can play Ishkana.
He does. He finds a forest off the top of the library there.
But he can actually play the Gearhulk as well. He's got tons of options here, and that land was a huge draw for Sam.
Now all of a sudden he looks much safer against that Glorybringer when it finally gets to untap. Another one off the top, though, for Paulo.
Glorybringer's powerful, but Ishkanah is perfectly designed to fight against Glorybringer.
No kidding.
Paulo might be in the unenviable position of Glorybringer go. He could also just pass with desert activations up here because he has a Ramming Up Ruins that he can use to throw at Sam.
He's gonna get the Earthshaker Kenra back.
And that can make it so Ishkanah can't block, and then Paulo gets to attack, but it's just going to eat a plant.
Right, it's not really a huge swing for Paulo. It is the most efficient thing he could do with his mana, though. Another land off the top there for Pardee.
What Sam doesn't know is that double Glorybringer's headed his direction next turn.
Right. He's got Verger's Gearhulk and a Fatal Push in his hand.
But Glorybringer conveniently out of range of Fatal Push here. How Sam distributes these counters of Verger's Gearhulk is the most difficult decision he's going to have to make this game, and potentially the most impactful.
So what is he trying to avoid here? He knows there's a Glorybringer on the battlefield. He knows he wants to try to set up a block for a 4/4 on the ground at some point as well. He does not know about the second Glorybringer.
He does not. He's going to likely want to put at least one counter on the Gearhulk itself, because that gets it out of range of Glorybringer.
Right.
He's going to want to decide how to distribute his other counters in the face of a removal spell for Ishkanah, because he's got to be aware that even a shock combined with Glorybringer's Trigger could take out Ishkanah. So yes, I like 3 counters on the other spider. Wow, he's just going to let Glorybringer
just kill
eat
Verger's
Verger's Gearhulk. The
Ooh.
downside of that is that for Paulo is that Glorybringer then gets eaten by one of those spiders.
Sam now has 2 4-powered spiders with reach that can block Glorybringer. So he's kind of taunting Paulo. He says, look, you want my Verger's Gearhulk down? You can do it, but it's going to cost you a Glorybringer to do so.
So these spiders really thwarting Paulo's plans here.
Seriously. Look at Paulo. He's looking down at his hand like, I have 2 Glorybringers active right now.
He can double exert and both target Ishkanah or both target the spider token.
Then he will lose 1 Glorybringer to the other spider.
As well as attack with the Earthshaker Kenra and kind of force the Gearhulk trade. Sam gets to eat a Glorybringer, falls down to 7, but then the Glorybringer doesn't untap next turn. That might still be Paulo's best chance of winning this game.
We're here in Game 4 in Kyoto, and boy, this is a close one. The other ones have been very fast, but this one, no room for error for either one of our players here. We are in the finals. Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa playing for the championship and Player of the Year. If he's able to win. On Sam Pardee's side of the table, this would be a monumental Pro Tour victory for the 2-time Pro Tour top 8er. No wiggle room whatsoever for our players. Paulo's doing the math. This is where Paulo really excels, Luis. He is able to deconstruct these scenarios in such ways, and look what he ends up doing. Nothing.
Nothing.
He's kept Glorybringer in hand. So we're expecting him to start using the Ramming Up Ruins at this point.
Seems very likely he's going to throw one of those Sun-Scorched Deserts in Sam Pardee's direction. Another thing Paulo might be hoping to draw here is a smaller burn spell to combine with the Glorybringer Exert. He could also be hoping that Sam attacks with one of those big reach creatures and potentially gives Paulo an opening to send in both Glorybringers.
I mean, Sam did get a little chippy last turn and get in with 2 of the spiders, but here's Fatal Push to kill the token, and oh boy, Sam Pardee's actually getting a big attack lined up here.
And if Paulo...
4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, it's lethal.
Paulo... Wow, this is perfect for Sam because it gives Paulo the out to block a spider, fall to 1, and then die to Walking Ballista.
Does this get the job done as well?
This does 10 damage.
4,
This
8,
falls...
9, 10,
Paulo falls to 3.
11, 20. You can get him to 1 with the Ballista?
But at this point, Paulo doesn't have outs.
And that is effectively the win, and actually the win. Sam Pardee evens things up. And of course, we're going to get a Game 5. It has been a day of Game 5s here on Pro Tour Sunday. And we're going to get one more. Sam Pardee versus Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa. Wow. That was an intense game.
Yes, it was.
Nothing to give for either player. And I love that line from Sam Pardee. You know, he attacked with those 2-1-1 spiders the turn prior, and he needed every bit of energy, every bit of damage there to get the job done. So much on the line for both players, particularly Paulo, because of that extra layer of Player of the Year. But both of them have reached their goals for the following season with this strong finish. So they kind of have that behind them. That's usually the way that most pros approach things. They'll usually look at it in terms of, okay, first order of business, get platinum, you know, once you're gold. Also, try to get World Championship invite. That's a big one for these players, a huge accomplishment for them. And after that, you start looking at things like Player of the Year, being the national champion, you know, that kind of stuff for your country.
Well, I think in the moment, these players can set all that aside and just they want that trophy that's about 5 feet away from them. That's what they want. And being a Pro Tour champion, I think, is first and foremost in these players' minds more than anything else right now.
Especially at this point. Let's take a look at Paulo's deck list here for those of you maybe want to sleeve up a little bit of aggro action for your F&M. This is the way to do it these days. Ramanop Red. This deck has the quick starts, the cheap creatures, the way to get your opponent low on life, and it also has the places to put your mana late in the game to finish the job. Ramanop Ruins being kind of the all-star namesake card for that. But also cards like Hazaret the Fervent get you a nice outlet for your mana late in the game. Same thing with Earthshaker Kenra that you see in the middle of the creatures list there. All of those cards really do give you a place to spend mana late, and that is something that is sorely lacking for most mono red or burn decks. Is if you flood out or you just don't have quite enough action, you're just helpless. You're just at the mercy of the top of your library. And this deck, that's just simply not the case.
This deck doesn't really flood. It's very difficult for this deck to. Over the course of the weekend, I don't think we've seen a mono red deck really badly flood out. They always have something to do.
Yeah. It is very rare for this deck to get into that point. Let's take a look at Pardee's list. This is a bit of a throwback list here, Luis. This is a deck we haven't seen in Standard in a while, but Pardee making the metagame call and bringing Black-Green Constrictor. You will not see that many new cards here. This really is kind of an old-school deck list. Only 2 cards from Hour of Devastation made this list.
And one of them, not long for the list after this Pro Tour, Haship Oasis, not pulling its weight. Sam not particularly happy with how it performed.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, you know, you kind of get these pockets of cards that work well together, you know, energy, and this one is a little bit more of the counters type stuff, maybe a little bit of delirium in there as well. And they kind of group together, and you can find these decks that are sort of, like I said, there's a little bit of a throwback at this point. But Pardee's really found a nice niche in the metagame and has found himself one single game away from being a Pro Tour champion. The only thing he has to do is beat Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa, one of the best players ever to play Magic. This is going to be a good one. Let's hope for no mulligans. We've had a day fraught with mulligans, and here's yet another one. Sam Pardee has to go back into the well for a 6-card hand. And has Paulo kept his? Looks like Paulo has, in fact, kept his hand. There has been a lot of mulligans to 5 today.
Paulo does not have a 1-drop, it looks like, but his hand is still quite solid. Earthshaker Kenra, Kari Zev, On-Crop Crusher.
That's on the play.
On the play.
Okay.
And it looks like a Glorybringer potentially to top the curve off. So Sam's got an uphill battle, and well, we'll see what his opening 6 has.
You know, mulligan to 6 on the draw with a scry, you can work your way through. It's when you start getting into the 5 range that things get ugly. I think he's got a keeper here, though, Luis. Yeah. He does.
And all the chips are riding on this one.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. No 1-drop, as you said, for Paulo, but this is where the fireworks start. He's got Kari Zev. He's going to set up for turn 3 big attacks here.
And the good thing for Paulo is Sam has a creature to play on turn 2, but Kari Zev, she gets around that quite nicely.
What does he have? A Whining Constrictor?
He's got a Grim Flare.
Grim Flare, okay.
And
Earthshaker Kenra's going to dodge that as well.
Grim Flare also doesn't really block Ragavan all that effectively.
No, really doesn't. So this one already starting to look good for Paulo. Is he going to become a 2-time Pro Tour champion and a Player of the Year in one game of Magic, or is Sam Pardee going to thwart that effort and take that trophy home himself?
Paulo drew a Beaumont Courier last turn, so now he gets to, if he wants, he can go Beaumont Courier, Earthshaker Kenra, attack for 6, have On-Crop Crasher back. We could see the beginning of the end here for Sam
Wow,
Pardee.
this one is going to fall apart very quickly for Sam if he doesn't have some serious technology to get back in this. He's taking big hits. He's already down to 14. Sam draws his card for the turn. He can see this one starting to fall apart on him.
He needed his 2-drop to be Winding Constrictor to go with this Walking Ballista, but all is not lost yet.
Okay.
Liliana, the Last Hope, does live up to her name.
Sending that Earthshaker Kenra straight to the graveyard. Does Paulo have one of his powerful 4-mana spells? No, but he does have an On-Crop Crasher, which will do just fine, thank you. And let's see. Paulo's going to want to take down Liliana here, I'm assuming. He can make it so the Grimflayer can't block. He can send the On-Crop Crasher as well as the Beaumont Courier over to Liliana and still get in for 3 damage, knocking Sam Pardee down to 11. Can Pardee stabilize from here? He's got a Walking Ballista.
Paulo's last 2 cards, land number 5 and Glorybringer.
Wow. Will he ride this Glorybringer to victory? It's starting to look like that.
You can go
But Pardee's not done yet.
during your draw step.
Another land off the top there. And I think we saw a little draw step. Walking Ballista hit that Beaumont Courier.
That is the time to do it. You want to make it so if your opponent wants to cash in their hand, they have to cash in the freshly drawn card as well.
So very likely going to see a Glorybringer hit the battlefield. The question is, what is Paulo going to do with it? Does he just ignore the Grimflayer at this point?
Well, Paulo can kill Grimflayer. One of the advantages to killing Walking Ballista, he can actually stack it such that he kills Walking Ballista before Ragavan leaps into play.
Sure.
And then
There's Glorybringer.
and then he gets in for 7 points of damage unless Sam wants to block Ragavan with Grimflayer.
Losing his Grimflayer in the process. He's only halfway to Delirium.
Well, Walking Ballista will actually get him all the way there. But then,
Yes.
so then,
Oh, okay, so you're stacking your
Right. So for all intents and purposes, Sam can have a 4/4 Grimflayer here. So he will actually get to block Ragavan profitably. But still, Glorybringer hits the battlefield, takes out the Walking Ballista. Ragavan gets gobbled up, but that's another 4 damage. Excuse me, that's another 8 damage. Sam Pardee down to 6.
and then Glorybringer is exerted. On-Crop Crasher is not.
That's right. Wow, Sam Pardee really needs something big here.
Sam needs a removal spell.
Remember, Paulo's out of gas here. I mean, he does have an Earthshaker Kenra and another land in his hand.
He doesn't have a Realm Up Ruins. That is critical. But Sam is having trouble stabilizing against this current board without the Glorybringer. In a turn, he's going to have to worry about Glorybringer. For right now, he can set that aside. It's exerted. It's not coming in next turn. But he doesn't currently have an answer to that. He doesn't even have an answer to On-Crop Crasher. Liliana the Last Hope is fantastic, but she's facing down a 1/3 and a 3/2, though that's not where she excels.
Might have to get back that Ballista. See what happens. Liliana. Shrink down On-Crop Pressure, pass the turn back.
And that just saves damage.
That's all that does.
Paulo drew Hazaret.
He drew a Hazaret off the top. That has to do it. And it's a fitting way for Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa to go here.
He's worrying about Grasp of Darkness. He's worrying about Fatal Push. Sam doesn't have those cards. Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa, 2-time Pro Tour champion.
This has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Not if you're Sam Pardee.
That's right. He's going to do everything he can to keep Paulo from winning this thing, but Paulo's just surveying the scene, having drawn one of the best possible cards off the top of his library, Hazaret the Fervent, and has been smashing people all weekend here.
It's only fitting that Hazaret, the last card cast at this Pro Tour.
It looks like he's going to go for the Earthshaker Kenra instead. He's going to pay the Eternalized cost, say that can't block. That's going to allow his On-Crop Crasher to attack in for 1 without Exert. 4, 5, and that does it. It's a lethal attack, and Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa wins the tournament 3-2 over Sam Pardee. He is your player of the year. He is your champion, and he's got to be considered one of the best ever, Luis. What a victory for Paulo. Whew. Take a deep breath.
One of the best ever is almost underselling it.
It really is, right?
He's coming up hard and fast on both John Finkel and Kai Bude, which is not something I ever thought anyone would say.
Paulo with a little head nod there. Great stuff from our champion, Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa from Brazil. Wins the whole thing. Sam Pardee gave him all he could handle, took him to 5 games. But in the end, it was Hazaret that finished the job. And you know what, Luis? I can't say I'm surprised. We've seen Hazaret doing that all weekend long.
Yeah, and just seeing this Ramanop red deck, it was the story of the tournament. It was the story of the top 8, story of the finals.
Yeah, that's exactly how it all played out. Ramanop Red gets the job done here in Kyoto, and we have our champion, Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa. We're going to have some words with him. We're going to be giving him a trophy and all the reactions and stuff upcoming as well. But, you know, one of the things that can get lost in the fray here, that's a Player of the Year victory for Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa, stealing it away at the last minute from Marcio Carvalho. What an exciting finish to our tournament. For all the reactions and more, got a little bit of a messages here and then the news desk.
I'll give you some messages. That was extraordinary. We have played 34 out of a maximum 35 games today. Are you not entertained? Really, just magnificent. We've been joined here at the desk by Paul Chion, of course, Maria Bartoldi here. Let's unpack, first of all, Paul, the final itself. We've got so much else to get to. Let's talk about the final.
Yeah, it turns out being on the play, little bit important. Sam had a perfectly fine draw in that game. Turn 2 Grimflayer, he had a Liliana, he had Walking Ballista, which is a fantastic card against the red deck, but he was actually telling me it's a little bit difficult to actually deal with some of the bigger cards that the mono red deck has to offer. Cards like the Glorybringer and the Chandra, and of course the Hazaret that he drew at the end.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that Game 4 when he had Ishkana and Glorybringer was just kind of brick-walled from that moment in that game, but in Game 5, that wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, I think Sam did a really great job distributing the counters there on the Verdish Gearhulk. When I was watching, I was sitting there trying to figure out, like, you know, where is he going to put these counters? Obviously, you put 1 on the Gearhulk to save it, and he put 3 on the 1/2 Spider and 1 on the Ishkana. I'm like, oh, wait, no, that was genius.
Yeah, it was such a good play.
It was really good.
I'm going to go back 30 seconds. You said being on the play was really important. Now I'm going to go back 24 hours. It's round 15, and Paulo Vitor Damo Rosa, who's already in the top 8, faces Seth Manfield. He plays to put Seth Manfield potentially out of the tournament, but also for higher seed in the top 8. He beats Seth. In the last round, he's up against Sam Pardee. Now they could, they're both paired down. They could play. They both chose to ID, and as a result, Sam Pardee was the 2 seed, Paulo was the 1 seed. 6 games later today, the 1 seed faced the 2 seed in the final, and that's where Paulo was on the play. Right. So that, you can trace that back to that round 15. I'm in the top 8, I'm sitting down against the 2015 world champion Seth Manfield. I am going to play you because tomorrow, that edge might be what I need.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Phenomenal. All right, why don't we get to the bracket and show you what's been happening. Now, this kind of feels a bit like spoiling it, because if you're just arriving, your timing sucks. Let's just be honest here, because this has been one of the great days in Magic history. Just absolutely stonking entertainment. We began, Maria, take it away.
All right, Paulo, Vitor, Damo, Rosa versus Seth Manfield, Ramunap Red versus Ramunap Red. Paulo comes out with the win there, despite the fact that Seth packed a lot more burn for this tournament. Next up, Yam Wing Chung versus Shintaro Kurata. Yam Wing Chung on Ramunap Red as well, and Shintaro bringing kind of a little bit more of a brew in his black-red mix there, but Yam Wing Chung gets the victory there.
So, Paul, you were in the booth for both of those. And, you know, we'll be honest, we'll lift the lid a little bit. We get in very early on Sunday morning at the Pro Tour, and we're hoping for a great day. But, you know, we're all a little bit tired, a little bit cranky, getting towards the end of the weekend. And then we open up with mulligan to 5, mulligan to 5, mulligan to 5. I said to Luis here at the desk, I said, one for the ages. and
it was!
And an hour later, yeah, that was an extraordinary match.
Yeah, absolutely. It started out being just kind of like, oh, well, this is not really a fun match to start out the tournament. Paulo just double mulliganing 3 times in a row and just being eliminated like that, and then just clawing his way back.
Yeah.
Ethersphere Harvester just winning game after game after game, putting him into the semifinals.
Life gain, who knew? All right, Maria, bottom half of the bracket.
All right, we had Sam Black versus Felix Leong. Both of those players once again packing Ramunap Red, and the name of the game in this game was Hazaret, who one of the MVPs of the weekend, I would say. Sam Black coming out on top there. Sam Pardee versus Yusuke Sasabe there as our fourth quarterfinal rather. He was on Mono Black Zombies versus Black Green Constrictor. So our two sort of outlier decks bidding each other up in that game there. Of course, Sam Pardee, the winner.
Okay, let's look forward 5 or 6 days, Paul. Grand Prix Minneapolis is coming right up. That's this standard format. If you were thinking of sleeving something up and you see this avalanche of Ramunap Red, are you playing Black Green Constrictor like Sam Pardee? Are you playing Mono Black Zombies like Yusuke Sasabe? Where do you go?
Reigns. That's where I want to go. I want to play zombies. Sam Pardee told me I do not want to play against the zombie deck. That's the one deck he didn't want to play against, and I think when he played against Yusuke, he got a little bit fortunate there. Yusuke had a really slow start in Game 5, and he was kind of stuck on lands in one of the earlier games as well, and he ended up pulling himself ahead. But I think Zombies really well positioned right now. I think it's a very solid option against Ramunap Red, and also great against Black Green Constrictor.
So we go into our semi-finals. Let's take another look at the bracket. You've got PVDDR up against Yang Win Chung. Now, we thought that Paulo had used up several of his 9 lives in the quarterfinals. He used up the rest of them in the semis for sure. It was a phenomenal match. And do go back and watch. You will see some extraordinary magic for sure. But of course, Paulo Vida Damo de Rosa did advance. But then we had this intriguing, in terms of decks, Paul, the discussion about, okay, Black Green Constrictor got past the Mono Black Zombies. Could it now get past Ramunap Red? And by the way, a phenomenal pilot of Ramunap Red in Sam Black.
Yeah, this is a close matchup. I do like being on the Black Green Constrictor side. Sam Pardee was a higher seed, so he did get to go first, and that ended up being very, very good for him. But on the flip side, of course, a little anticlimactic. Sam Black had mulliganed to 4 in the last game, so it's pretty easy to beat a deck when they're, don't play any spells.
So Paulo Vida Damo de Rosa, there he is. He's sitting there in the final. The number 2 seed, Sam Pardee, advances. And then, of course, we have just had 5, again, tremendous games, culminating in what we thought was going to be Hazaret yet again. But in the end, we went over to the graveyard, and here was an Earthshaker Kenra. Paulo is the Earthshaker here. He is champion of Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. He is the player of the year. Let's get to the awards ceremony in the company of our very own Marshall Sutcliffe.